Hi guys, Mark here. I thought I'd put this video together because I've been riding motorcycles for a long time now. I started when I was 16. I've been riding for over 30 years, over 150,000 miles of riding, and I've been wanting to make a beginner's guide to motorcycling, just covering all the basics you need to know. Now, first off, you don't want to take this video as your only piece of information. I totally advise you to go to a recognised, approved school of motorcycling, get yourself properly trained, and it will set you on your motorcycling lifestyle for the rest of your life. I mean, motorbiking is so much fun. It's freedom, it's riding with friends, it's incredibly exhilarating, it's a passion, it's a hobby, it gets into your blood. It's just an amazing thing. It's different things to different people. Some people do touring, some people do sports riding, track riding, motocross, commuting, scooters for getting to work. There's so many types of bikes. It's really the golden age of motorbiking now. There's just a type of bike for everyone, ranging from 50cc right up to 1400cc and plus. Basically, so what I'm going to do is just talk about different types of bikes first of all, and then we're going to talk about motorcycle gear, all the protective clothing, the controls of the bike, what it all does. We're going to talk about getting on the bike, how to do that safely. Then we're going to get rolling the first few little meters with the engine running and letting that clutch out for the first few exciting meters. Apologies for me, I'm having to look through a list here to make sure I don't forget anything. Then we're going to do the first gear changes. Little bit of braking, obviously, that's very important. How to steer the bike, it's called counter steering. It's not kind of like a bicycle where you steer like that. You actually have to sort of put a bit of opposite pressure to steer the bike. I'll go through that later on. Little bit of maintenance, absolute basic maintenance. You don't have to be a fully qualified mechanic. It does help on a bike, but it's good to know important, basic safety things, checking tyres, pressures, brakes, that sort of stuff as a complete beginner. So I'm going to talk about moving the bike, how we move it around carefully, putting it on the centre stand, which is quite a technique, and then later on, in the next few days, I will make a part 2, which is more kind of going out on the open road and, opening the bike up, 60 miles an hour riding, that sort of thing, how you position yourself on the road, hazards, all that sort of stuff when you're actually riding out on the open road. So today we're in kind of like a very quiet, enclosed car park, the sort of situation you'd be in if you were actually at a school for the first time. So if you're a beginner, you're going to be starting off, I would have thought, on a 125cc, something nice and small. Don't start on something really big and powerful and heavy. You're going to drop it, or you're just going to go too fast. Start small, get your skills, and then work up. Don't think, I'm going to jump straight onto a 1000cc, 200 horsepower, 200 mile an hour motorbike. It's going to end in tears. It really will. In your early days, 12 horsepower is what I started on in 1987. The 70 mile an hour blew my mind. RD125 it was, Yamaha. When you get off that, you'll get onto 50 horsepower, 47 horsepower actually here in the UK. That will still be very exciting. And then after that, you can start progressing, through the power if you want more power. Different types of bikes, sports bikes, tourers, commuters, whatever type of riding you want to do. So, first off, motorcycling is obviously a little bit dangerous, but that's why it's so exciting. You want to make sure you've got all the right gear on. So starting at the top, your helmet. Make sure you've got a good quality helmet, preferably full face, because it protects your face. Make sure it's good quality by a renowned brand. No damage on it. Your head is very important. Jacket, you want either a leather jacket, a leather suit, a full leather suit, a two-piece leather suit, or I wear textile jacket with armour protection in the back, shoulders and elbows, because I find just textile is more comfortable for the sort of riding that I do. I did have leathers years ago, but I prefer textiles. I wear textile trousers as well, and I wear good strong leather boots and gloves. Please do not ride a motorbike without gloves on. You can just go and buy a pair of builder's gloves if you like. Any type of glove is better than no gloves. The first thing if you come off, you're going to put your hands down. Please always wear gloves. So I wear full leather gloves the whole time. So full protection will totally save your skin. It's not going to totally save you from injuries, but it will help a great deal. So that's the gear, guys. So let's talk about the motorbike. Now I'm aiming this at total novices who know absolutely nothing about a motorcycle. Okay, they're nothing at all. Okay, so apologies to those riders that are sort of watching this now that might be starting to yawn. This is just aimed at total beginners. So this is a sports bike. It's a Honda CBR 600 with about 95 horsepower. Does 0 to 60 in about 3.2 seconds and does about 155 miles an hour. It's pretty fast, but on the grand scale of things, it's about a 6 out of 10 in performance. A 200 horsepower BMW S1000R would totally leave this for dead in a straight line. Not so much in the corners, but 200 horsepower BMW S1000 is way faster than this, but this is still very fast. So, and this is an old bike. This is 20 years old, but it's all the same things still apply. So let's talk about the whole bike. Okay, you're obviously starting at the top here. This is a fully fed sports bike, so you've got the screen that deflects the wind over you, stops you getting blown away. Mirrors, obviously, to see behind. You've got your speedo. This is all old school, so you've got an analog manometer and trip meter. You've got your rev counter. I hope you can see this now. Rev counter, temperature gauge, temperature of the engine, your turn signals, left and right, oil pressure light, neutral, I'll go into that later on, side stand warning light, and high and low beam. Okay, so that actually kind of controls. All bikes are similar. Modern bikes will be more LCD dashes now, they're a bit more updated. So on the right here, okay, we have the front brake. Okay, you squeeze that and the front brake goes on. So the way this works is there's hydraulic fluid in the master cylinder here. When you squeeze this, it pushes a piston which pushes hydraulic fluid down the lines to the calipers up here, which bite onto the discs here. Okay, brake lines, brake discs, brake pads in there which you need to check, brake discs. You need to make sure that these are all in good working order, really important. So front brake, sorry guys, I will have to whiz through this because there's a lot to cover here. This is your throttle, okay? When you turn this on carburetted bikes like this, it opens up slides in the carburetors that lets more fuel and air mixture into the engine, which gives it more power and more speed. So basically, the more you twist that, the faster you go. When you want to slow down, you let it off or shut it. That stops the power to the engine. More power, pull back. Less power, push it forwards. That's your engine kill switch, is the red switch there. In an emergency, someone, either you or a passerby, could just hit that and kill the engine. Now this is an old bike, so we've got lights, a light switch. Modern bikes have automatic lights that stay on all the time for your visibility and safety, but with this you have to turn them on. Down there is engine start button. I'll show you that in a minute. That's your preload adjusters for the suspension, which makes it firmer or softer. Ignition key. A lot of modern bikes have an immobiliser built into the key. Turn that, turn the ignition on, and then in a minute, when I hit that button there, the engine will start up. Fuel tank. Most bikes are around about 20 litres of fuel. Unleaded fuel goes in there. So just working down the bike. This is a fully fed bike. There's your engine. That's where your oil goes in, so we'll check that later on. That's your rear brake. So your rear brake is operated by your right foot. Push it down, pushes the fluid through into the caliper over there. Bites onto the back wheel. This is the preload reservoir for the rear shock absorber, which is in there. So there's your engine, your dipstick for the oil, rear brake, exhaust. A lot of people change the exhaust because it makes the bike sound louder, fruitier, if you will, gives it a few more brake horsepower. Obviously, this is the seat. A lot of bikes have dual seats for your passenger. Their feet go here. Some bikes have single seats, so you can't take a passenger, but most bikes do have 2 seats. That's your grab rail for the passenger to hang on for dear life. Is your indicators. Rear tyres, need to check those on a regular basis. Working around the bike. This is your swinging arm, which goes up and down with the suspension, which is in there. Centre stand. This is your gear changer. Now, if you're new to bikes, you won't know how this works at all. Basically, most bikes have 6 gears. And the way it works is we're neutral at the moment. Okay, so basically it goes, if you can imagine, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, neutral, and then 1. Okay, we're neutral. So to go into 1, you're going to push down on there. That will go click into first gear. You then bring your foot up. It will click straight through neutral and into second. Click again, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. So you're in top gear, and you have to go 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's not like a car where you can kind of go 4 into 2. Okay, you have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's how it works, up and down. Okay, now this is an old bike, so we've got a fuel tap which turns the fuel on or off. Okay. So there's your engine in there. Again, you can just see it. Your exhaust pipes are coming round to the exhaust at the back there. Now this bike is chain driven. Most bikes are chain. Quite a lot of touring bikes are shaft drive because it's cleaner, quieter, not so much maintenance, but you do lose power through a shaft drive. So the method of choice for drive is a chain, and some bikes have a belt drive instead. So you've got chain, belts or shaft, chain being the most popular. Okay, so here we have the clutch. Now the clutch is a series of plates, I think there's 8 or so, which sandwich together. When you pull the clutch in, the plates splay apart, come apart, and that stops the power of the engine going to the rear wheel. So with the clutch in, the bike will go nowhere. As you let the clutch out when you want to go, you let the clutch out very, very gently. The power will go from the engine to the gearbox, to the clutch, and it will go to the back wheel. So that's your clutch. We have various switches here. If I turn the engine on, you can see we have high beam and low beam, flashers, horn and turn signals, left and right. Okay, now this bike's pretty old school, so it's got what's called a choke, which helps it start up with the carburetors. Mirrors, front light, indicators, there's your brake caliper, brake discs, front tyres, radiators in there. So that's pretty much the bike, guys, going round. Okay, front brake, clutch, throttle, rear brakes down there. Okay, gear changes there. All right, you with me so far? Okay, let's work on to the next thing. So now, with most motorcycles, you know, they've got they've got a side stand. Some motorbikes have a centre stand. Now, when it's on its side stand, which would be most of the time, the bike is always going to lean to the left. It won't be ever leaning to the right. If it's leaning to the right, it's fallen over, basically. So a bike will always be leaning to the left. And the way we get on is basically just hold the bars, flip your leg over, and just what I tend to do is tell people just to sort of get the bike and just feel like the balance point. You know, this bike weighs about 210 kilos wet with fuel and oil, oil, and just get a feel of it between your legs like this. Okay, there is a balance point. You should just be able to hold it, and it feels almost weightless. Okay, now you just don't want to ever let the bike go right over to the point where you're going to drop the thing. So you can just sort of put your leg out and just feel that point. You know, it's about there. Okay, but just have a little sit on the bike. Just feel it between your legs. Now, obviously, bikes all come in different heights. Some are very tall, like, you know, off-roaders or BMW GSs. They're quite tall, so you might need to be a 6-foot man plus a bit of ride, something like that. Other bikes aren't so tall. You know, I'm only 5'7", and my feet are flat on the floor here. But do check the height of a bike when you get it, because generally, you know, your bikes aren't adjustable that much. Some seats do adjust up and down a little bit, but generally, you know, you're not going to get a bit of adjust a very tall bike down to fit a 5-foot person. Okay, so do check your bike. So we're getting on now. It's okay. So now we're going to start up the engine. So I'm going to put my gloves on for this now. Okay, so start from the very beginning. Your key goes into the ignition and it turns, and you'll see all the dash light up. On modern bikes, all this will sort of flash up and LCDs will do nice things, but on this older bike you just get the neutral light on. Now you know that it's in neutral because the light is green saying neutral, but you want to just kind of rock the bike a bit just to sort of feel that it's in neutral. And neutral means it's not in a gear, it's not going to go anywhere when you start the engine. And most modern bikes, as a safety feature, you have to pull the clutch in on the left here to start the engine. It's just a safety feature that stops the bike shooting forwards if you were to inadvertently start it in gear. So to start the bike, we're going to push the little button here, which is your starting button. Now this should start up straight away. There we go. And we're just ticking over, as we call it, around about 1,000 revs per minute. So the engine's going up and down with its little pistons, going up and down 1,000 times a minute. And what I tell people to do is, if they're complete beginners to using a throttle, okay, the worst thing you can do, you do not want to just sort of get on this and go like that. It's just uncool. Just feel the throttle. Just blip it. Okay? Feel that engine. It's all about control. You want to be totally in control of this throttle. So you're in control of the bike, not it controlling you. Just blip that throttle, 1 to 2. Just get a little feel. Okay? Obviously you're warming the bike up, you want that engine to be slightly warm before you get going. Let the engine oil warm up, then it will respond well. I'm just checking that I've got the fuel on, yep. Okay guys, right then, so we've got the bike started up and we're in neutral. Okay, we're going to do our first rolling forward now. Now you want to put the side stand up. Now you want to pull the clutch in, okay, when you put it into first gear. Otherwise, if you put it into gear with the clutch out, the bike's going to shoot forward and you're going to fall off. So clutch in on the left, right in, and I'm putting my foot onto the gear lever and pushing down, click into first. See, the neutral light's gone off. Okay, now what you can do just for your first goes is keep both feet out on the floor. Okay, don't even need to touch the throttle, and just let the clutch out ever so slightly, and the bike will just start to roll forwards. Now pull the clutch back in. Congratulations, you've just done your first little move forward on a motorbike. Do it again. Let the clutch out really gently. I'm walking forwards. I'm actually walking now. My feet aren't up on the pegs yet. Pull the clutch in and you'll come to a stop again. Do it again. Feel that clutch bite. Okay, that's great. So now I'm going to pull forwards and same again. I'm not going to touch the throttle yet, but I'm going to bring my feet up onto the pegs. Clutch is biting, no throttle. Okay, I'm rolling now. I'm doing about 5 miles an hour. Straight line. Both feet are up on the pegs now. Keep looking ahead. Keep breathing. Relax. You're now riding a motorbike. I'm only doing about 5 miles an hour. Okay, I'm not giving it any throttle at all yet. I'm just going over on tick over, as they call it. Now for turning, okay, it's kind of, when you're going very slow, you do actually have to turn the handlebars like you're on a bicycle. Okay, so I'm actually physically turning these handlebars now to the right to do my right turn. Now when you do that turn, do not put any front brake on, because the bike can just sort of suddenly stop and you might just drop it over onto the right. So now the clutch is out. I'm going to just give it a fraction of throttle, just a tiny bit, and then let the throttle off. Clutch comes in. I'm I'm not touching any brakes yet. I'm just coming to a nice gentle stop, and my left foot is now down. Now what I tend to tell people to do is, I'm in gear, I've got the clutch in, I've got my foot pushing on the rear brake now, just to steady the bike. Okay, now when you're ready to go again, do the same again, but this time you can just give it a fraction of revs, 1300, as you let that clutch out super smoothly. Okay, I'm still in first gear, my clutch is just out now, and I'm turning the handlebars just like a bicycle going round. So I'm still in first gear. I'm going to stay in first gear. Now I'm going about 10 miles an hour now. Now when you do a turn when you're going faster, you counter steer. So if you want to go right, you push on the right lever a bit and it will bring you round. So you're kind of pushing on the right bar and it will make you go right. So it's a push on the right and a little pull on the left and you'll go to the right. So a bit of a push on the right, pull on the left, and away you go. Still in first gear. And we're going to come to a nice controlled stop in a sec. Same again, just a little bit of counter steering, going slower now, so I'm actually turning the bars quite a lot now to make that U-turn. Just remember, don't touch the front brake when you go round the corner. Still first gear, a little bit of throttle, about 2,000 revs. Now as you do this turn, just be looking over your shoulder towards where you're going to. So I'm kind of looking out the corner of my right eye, just going round. I just feathered the clutch there, I just pulled the clutch in ever so slightly because the bike sometimes can judder. Clutch is out now. So I'm just going to give it a little bit more revs. 3,000 revs now, still in a straight line. I'm going to try a little brake now. I'm going to brake. So I'm going to shut the throttle down, pull the clutch in, and a little tiny bit of front brake just to bring yourself to a controlled stop. Okay, now we're going to try and put it into neutral. So foot underneath the gear lever now and just pull upwards, going up very gently, and it will click it into neutral. So there we go, guys, that's our first little go. Well done, congratulations for your first little go. I'm going to turn it round now. So into first gear, little bit of revs, and I'm going to have to turn the handlebars quite a lot to get this tight turn going. I'm looking over my shoulder into the corner of my right eye. And now this time we're going to have a go at changing gear into second. So I'm in first gear. Now remember, to change into second gear you have to go up with the lever and you're going to go through neutral straight into second. To change gear you've got to shut the throttle, pull the clutch in, change up, let the clutch out and then give it some throttle again. Shut the throttle, pull the clutch in, change upwards, let the clutch out, give it some throttle. But in reality, when you're riding properly on the road, you do all that kind of at the same time. Shut throttle, pull clutch in, change gear, done, all at once, okay? But I'm just going to really break it down slowly for you. So, little bit of revs, clutch out really slowly, gently. Okay. So, a little bit of revs. Now I've got pressure on the gear lever now. So, shut throttle, clutch in, changed into second, clutch out, and revs again. Now I'm in second. Now because I'm in second going very slowly, I'm going to have to pull the clutch in or else it will just judge around here. I'm going to just look at the corner of my left eye this time going round. I'm in second still, just feathering the clutch. That's it. And now I can give it some throttle slowly, let the clutch out, going round again. Gentle turn, feathering the clutch, still in second. Clutch out slowly, revs and accelerate. And now we'll try quite a good brake, so it's front brake, then back brake and then clutch in. Left foot down. Okay, so I'm in second gear, remember, so now I need to push downwards on the gear lever to put me into neutral. And we'll turn off for now. So guys, well done, you've done your first little goes. Just checking my little list. That's good. Right, we'll do that again. One more go. So engine on, check neutral, clutch in, give it some revs. So foot on the back brake, first gear, feel that clutch bite halfway. Little bit of revs, slowly going round to the left, looking out the corner of my left eye, over my left shoulder. We're going to accelerate down here and go into second gear. So a little bit of revs, shut the throttle, pull the clutch in, up into second, clutch out, little bit of revs again, and away we're in second now. Now I'm going to go down into first now for this very slow corner, feathering the clutch, little bit of revs. First gear, little bit of revs, shut throttle, pull clutch in at the same time, and then we're going to second. Done. Clutch out, back on the revs. Slow it down, I'm going clutch in, into first gear, and a really slow corner. Nice and controlled. Clutch in, a little bit of back brake for a gentle slow down. Into neutral, clutch out slowly, turn off. So guys, that's basically it for pulling away and your first little tentative goes, if you like. Just go somewhere quiet and practice that. Or, you know, if you go to a approved school, they'll probably be doing that sort of thing with you. But just take it nice and slow. You've got to build up with motorcycling. You can't just expect to get on a bike and just go super fast cornering, because you will end up hurting yourself. Start slow and build up. And I promise you, you will love motorcycling for as long as I have. Okay. Let's talk about a few more things now then. So, just have a little look on my list. Okay. Maintenance. So, if you're a beginner motorcyclist, you've bought your new motorbike, you don't have to be expected to be a fully qualified mechanic. Excuse me. But as a motorcyclist, you want to feel the passion for your bike. You want to clean it, you want to polish it, you want to love it, okay? And there are a few absolutely essential things you need to check as a motorcyclist. You know, you're on board this machine. You want to know it's safe. You're travelling at fast speeds. You want to know it's all safe. So, starting at the top, brakes, okay? Brakes are really important, so you need to check your brake fluid. Now, the brake fluid is in there, and you need to make sure, looking in that little window there, this is the front brake master cylinder, it needs to be above the lower level, so make sure you've got the brake fluid in there, and that has to be changed at specific intervals. Okay, check your manual for that. Check your brake lines as well, make sure they're not leaking, and with a torch you can look in there, and you need to make sure that you've got at least a couple of millimeters of brake pad. Okay, brake pad is the friction material that rubs on the discs. Okay, so make sure your brakes basically aren't worn down. Okay, that's quite an important thing to check. Check your brakes, check your brake pads. Okay, have a little look at your forks up in there. Make sure they're not leaking oil onto the fork stems there. You'll see it as a ring around the fork. Check your fork seals. Okay, tyres, absolutely critical to a motorcycle safety. Check your tyres regularly, have a look on them, spin them round, check for any cuts, nails, screws, etc. And they need to have lots of tread for when you go out in the wet. And most tyres have a wear indicator on them. It's difficult to see, but it's a little tiny bead of rubber that when the tyre tread here is worn down to that, that's time to replace the tyre. So check your tyres regularly. Now, tyre pressures are super important. You want to check your tyre pressures, sorry. I check my tyre pressures once a week. Now, on a sports bike, your standard pressures are 36 front, 42 rear. People have variations on that. They might go a little bit softer to get a bit more heat in the tyre, but generally 36 front, 42 rear. You can't go wrong with those sort of pressures on sports bikes. For smaller bikes, it can be about 33 psi, so I don't know what that is in bar. 33 front, and you might be sort of 36 rear, but just check your owner's manual or Google your tyre pressures and check them with an accurate gauge as well. Oil. Now, oil is the blood of your engine. Without oil, your engine's going to seize, and Engines will either have a dipstick which you pull out, wipe off and put back in with the bike in an upright position, and you need to be able to see on the dipstick that there's oil between the low and the high marks. So the bike's on the... I checked this just a couple of days ago. It's difficult to see, but it needs to be between those two marks there. Or if you've got a window, a sight glass, it'll be down there. Put the bike in an upright position if you need to get someone to hold it, and check that it's between the lower and the upper, and it needs to be changed. I change my oil about every 4,000 or 5,000 miles or once a year. Rear brake is the same as the front. Check that everything's looking good. Make sure there's plenty of brake pad on the back. Okay. Make sure your exhaust is nice and solid and not falling or shaking off. Rear tyre, again, super important. Make sure there's lots of tread on it. Check your wear indicators. Replace your tyre if it gets low, and check your tyre pressures and check for any cuts or nails or anything like that in them. Moving around the bike, make sure all your indicators work properly. Make sure your lights work properly. Make sure your brake light works properly. Now, on the chain-driven bikes, you have to keep them lubricated with chain lube, oil, dry chain lube. There's all different types on the market. This has got an automatic chain oiler called a Scott oiler, which puts oil on the chain automatically. And you want to make sure that the chain has the correct amount of play in it, which is up and down around about 30 mil. It will depend on bike to bike, but 30 mil is kind of about that, and that's kind of the free play you want up and down. Okay. Let's say I may do a video on how to adjust a chain, but there's lots of videos on how to adjust a chain. That is something that you should be able to do as a motorcyclist, is to adjust your own chain. It's not that difficult. It's just a case of loosening off the main axle nut and pulling the rear wheel back on these adjuster nuts here. To keep your chain adjusted, well lubricated. Moving around the bike, just make sure all the nuts and bolts are well tightened, all lubricated, and all that sort of good stuff. Make sure the whole bike is in good order. When you're washing it, cleaning it, polishing it, you'll be able to see if anything's loose and falling off. Make sure all the fairings in good condition and tight. Make sure all your cables work freely. Clutch should work smoothly. Might need some lubrication if it feels stiff. You know, make sure the throttle works smoothly. Basically, it's just checking the bike. You don't have to be, you know, a mechanic who takes out his engine. It's good, some people do. You're not expected to do valve clearances on the top of the engine. That's a very complicated job. But there's just these basic checks you must do as a beginner or as any motorcyclist. You know, don't leave a motorcycle. Don't expect to never ever do any maintenance on a motorbike. It's dangerous. Okay, so you just must check it basically. Brilliant. Okay, right, let's talk about a few other bits and bobs. So if your bike's got a centre stand, you know, it's quite a technique putting them on these centre stands. Don't know if you can see it, but that is the centre stand just there where my foot is now. Okay, and that's what you push down on with your right foot. Now what you do is get the bike on its balance point, okay? Put the side stand up, and you're going to push down on the centre stand until you can kind of feel it, both prongs of the centre stand touching down. Now some bikes have a handle underneath the back here which you can hold onto with your right hand, which I am now. Left hand holds the left grip, and then what you want to do when you feel that kind of pressure point on the two prongs of the centre stand is literally jump onto that bit your right foot is on now. Push down really hard, and the bike will just literally lift up quite easily. You know, I'm not a heavy guy, but I put that on its centre stand really quite easily by pushing down on that bit just there. To push it off the centre stand, you can either grab here and on the grab rail and push forwards, or put both hands on the handlebars and just put some effort into it and kind of just push forwards and then lean the bike to the left slightly. Okay, so I'll show you that again. Centre stand, push down with your foot, stand on it with your right foot, then grab underneath and push down quite hard and just pull back on the bike and it will come up. Push forwards, off, and down it goes. Okay, side stand down, and he's good to go. So guys, I really hope that you're going to enjoy motorcycling as much as I have over the 30 years. I've probably had about 30 motorbikes, all different styles. I've had big touring bikes, I've had ultra sports bikes, GSXRs, R1s, and I've currently got this at the moment, which is a nice all-round motorcycle. It really is a fantastic hobby, pastime, whatever you want to call it. Some people just use it as an A to B. I use it for pleasure. I don't commute on motorbikes. I just use it for fun, basically. I go out on nice sunny days for long rides over the UK. Go out with mates. It really is a great hobby and sport. I've done many trips abroad to Germany and France, which is absolutely fabulous, for 7 days touring through Germany and Switzerland and the like. Just a few more things now. So, to move a motorcycle, okay, obviously you might be on a smaller bike than this to move for the first time. Lift it off its side stand, push the side stand up. Now we're going to just try and push this bike forwards now. Now, whatever you do, don't let the motorbike go past the balance point over that way, because you're probably going to drop it over onto the right. Keep it leaning into you ever so slightly against your right hip. This is the way I do it. I've got both hands on the handlebars and just kind of push in your shoulders and walk forwards, and the bike should come with you. Basically, you're taking it for a walk. You can steer the bike with the handlebars just like an ordinary bicycle, walking forwards. Okay, if the brakes aren't binding, it should push forwards quite easily, even a big bike. And you can do the reverse and just go backwards with it, but keep fully in control of it. Keep your arms and your hands nice and strong, just leaning into it ever slightly. Don't ever let it go over to the right, because it will go past the balance point and you're going to drop it over there. So you can either hold it on the handlebars, or some people, they'll hold it on the back here, on the grab rail, and push it like that. So you've got one hand on the grab rail and one hand on the handlebars, but I prefer just holding it both on the handlebars. You can basically just turn the handlebars into you. Do like a 3-point turn if you happen to turn it around in a garage or something. Just like that. So I'm walking it around now with full lock on the right hand down. Just practice. All I can say, guys, is just take your time with it all. So guys, I think we pretty much covered it all, really. I will make a video going out onto the open road, give you my thoughts and all my advice when we go out onto the open road. But for now, good luck with your motorcycling career, if you like. So any questions, please feel free to stick them in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer any. Please like this video, please subscribe and share this video. As I say, if there's anything that you don't understand that I've talked about, please put it in the questions and I'll answer. But just go really steady when you first start riding. Have a good level head on your shoulders and you'll be absolutely fine. I've not had any problems with motorbikes. I've only ever fallen off once. That was my own stupid fault. But that's another story, when I was 17 and stupid and being silly. But I haven't had a single, touch wood, accident or issue in 25, 28 years now. So I've had a really good time on motorbikes, and I'm looking forward to the next 20, 30 years. So I'll catch you again soon. Ride safe, and speak to you soon. Cheers guys, all the best. Thanks a lot. Mark signing off. Bye bye.